Hey everyone, it's Jade from shutupandrockon.com, and we are here with Riki Rachtman. Riki, how are you doing today?
Awesome here. I'm having a good time, even though there's not a soul here. It's a tumbleweed just blew by my booth.
And so we're at MusicCon in Sturbridge, Massachusetts, and everyone's having a good time. Everyone who's here is having a good time. So my first question, you're a singer. You were a singer in the 80s and kind of...
Okay, now, I am a singer, but the people that ever saw me play wouldn't think so.
Why is that?
Now, I suck. But actually, before any of that, when I was a kid, I had auditioned to be in the Angry Samoans, which is a punk rock band. And then I played in a couple bands. I played in a band called Virgin. I played in a band called Heart of Chrome. But the band that probably did the best was a band called Battery Club, which we actually toured a long time ago with The Offspring.
Oh, yeah.
And I had like a guy from Social Distortion in the band, a guy from Adolescence, and it was an all-star band, and we just played punk rock. And then I've gotten up on stage probably about 8 or 9 times with Ace Von Johnson, because
I've seen pictures.
I'd love to be in a band with Ace, because Ace is despite his age, knows a lot of these obscure bands that I used to listen to. Like, I'll mention bands like the Avengers, and he's like, oh, American in Me. I'm like, I used to play that. So,
oh my God.
So me and Ace really like playing on stage, and I know for Rock and Shock we'll probably play 4 or 5 songs, and I really he's a great kid, you know, I really like him.
When's Rock and Shock? When's that happening?
That's October, I think. You would know better than I do.
Where is it?
I can't say this right. Worcester, Mass.
Worcester?
Worcester.
Worcester, man.
It's in Worcester.
Maybe I'll go because that's not far from here.
Oh, it's so fun.
I'll go.
It's rad.
And so what prompts you to start hosting the Headbangers Ball? How does that come about?
I owned the Cathouse, and I got a lot of notoriety for owning this club.
Yeah.
And then, I was friends of the Guns and everybody, and pretty much the person that got me the job was Axl. Axl said, he goes, hey, would you host that show? I'm like, hell yeah. So he set up my audition, and then he's like, I'll go to New York with you. So me and Axl went to New York, and that's when I auditioned, and it was a totally case of who you know, and it helped me because I sucked when I first started on TV. I sucked. And but he helped me get the job, and so that's pretty much because I didn't think I was going to be TV guy.
I was gonna say, because had you done radio or hosting or public speaking or anything before that?
Well, my dream was always to work in radio, believe it or not, because there wasn't a Headbangers Ball, so I didn't know where else I'd work, what else I'd do. But I always wanted to work. I used to make tapes when I was a little kid and pretend like I was a DJ. So once you hosted Headbangers Ball, you can pick and choose a lot of stuff, and I ended up hosting Loveline of all things because I wanted to do talk radio.
I was going to ask you what that is because I had never heard of that prior to it was before my time, but
everything is before your time.
Well, yeah, but I didn't know what that was. So what was Loveline? What was that?
Loveline was a show hosted by me and Dr. Drew, and it was just me and Dr. Drew at first, and we would just take calls, sex problems, whatever, from kids.
Yeah.
And
sex problems from kids.
Oh yeah, well, not kids, you're right, but young people.
Yeah.
And all we would talk about is just sex and love and this and that. I was very opinionated on my topics, and I spoke from a different point of view that Dr. Drew did. And then there was an idea to do a Loveline TV show, and I didn't want to do it. I thought it was stupid. I didn't think it would work as a TV show. And so they said, well, he's going to do it with this guy, Adam Carolla. So then they brought Adam Carolla in to do Loveline. So Loveline was Dr. Drew, Adam Carolla, and myself. And then I left Loveline to start a talk radio career.
Why'd you leave?
What, Loveline or talk radio?
Loveline. Oh.
I left Loveline to start talk radio, and I didn't want to do the Loveline TV show.
Yeah. And when you start doing talk radio, what are you doing?
Everything. I had everybody on my show. It was Howard Stern in the morning and me in the afternoons. And I did very well. I was in L.A., very competitive market. And I did that, Riki Rachtman Radio or the Triple R. I did that for probably about 3 or 4 years. It was really good.
Yeah. Looking back at Headbangers Ball, what are some of the favorite things, your favorite interviews, favorite people you were able to sit down with?
The shows that were my favorites were the ones that were pretty much everybody's favorites, which are the ones that get brought up the most. Alice in Chains in the Water Park, Alice in Chains in the Mansion, Soundgarden Bowling. Those were the ones that get brought up a lot. Obviously, I always had fun with Lemmy. It was a show like awkward when I would do shows with Tammy, or when I do shows with Axl or stuff, or Guns N' Roses. It was kind of weird because these were my real friends, and it wasn't as good as you would think it would be. It was kind of dry. As opposed to when I did stuff with like, people that knew they like Mustaine, which they knew they could give me a hard time and we could have fun, stuff like that. But yeah, the Alice in Chains, Pantera, those are the shows, not because of the music, but because of the just goofiness of having fun that we did that ended up working out really good.
And so Headbangers Ball ends. What prompts when it comes back with Jamie hosting? Did they ask you to host it first?
They asked me, they said, hey, we're going to bring back Headbangers Ball. I'm like, yes! And then they're like, who do you think should be the host? I was like, me. And so I gave them some names.
Did you say you?
Yeah.
And they said no?
Pretty much.
We don't want you anymore.
So I suggested Jamie Josta. And they brought it back, and Jamie's great. Jamie's great because then we were at a time that it wasn't, all heavy. It was poppy stuff. It was, they'd play, they'd play, Slayer and Napalm Death, and they'd play Enough's Enough or whatever. So it was everything on the show. And Jamie's like the guy from Hatebreed, so he couldn't really go into like softer stuff, But he's great. I love Jamie.
And in the 90s, you did some stuff with WCW, right? Yes. Hosting.
I worked for World Championship Wrestling for a couple years. A lot of people don't know it. I didn't get to do what I wanted to do with them, but that's pretty much the case with all my jobs. I always want to do more. But the WCW was a really fun gig because I got to work in wrestling. I mean,
Are you a wrestling fan?
Yes. Yes. Every job that I've had is basically I'm just a glorified fan. I love metal. I love wrestling, and I love NASCAR.
Yeah.
And it's like you got to find a way to work with the things that you love to do. That's the only way to do it.
Now, how do you start working with WCW?
I beat up a DJ.
Oh, good.
And went to jail for a day. Went from making good six figures to making nothing. And somebody suggested that I do it, and like Eric Bischoff's people called me, and actually Jason Hervey that was in the Wonder Years, he had a big say in it. I used to sit next to him at King's games, and he suggested to Eric Bischoff that I come work at WCW.
That's just how it started. When did it end? 2 years?
The very last day of WCW.
Oh, really?
Right when WWE took over. I think it was WWF at that time, and they took over WCW, and I worked the very last event.
What was that, like 92?
Okay. No, I think it was probably like 90. Oh, God, it would have to be after Headbangers Ball, so it was probably like 90.
Because the internet says 92, so the internet's wrong.
The internet's always wrong. Internet is always wrong.
Now, talk to me about the Cathouse. What makes you want to do that? Like, you just start the club?
I was a club DJ, and I wasn't playing and I was doing scratching and all that stuff before it was cool.
Okay.
If you listen to that song, Babylon from Faster Pussycat, all that.
Is that you?
That's me.
Oh my God.
And if you look on the record, it says Scratching by Riki Rachtman.
I love that.
And I was playing hip-hop clubs and stuff like that before it was like cool to put a DJ in your band. I mean, when you think about it, the song Babylon from Faster Pussycat was almost, in a sense, it was around the same time of the Beastie Boys, but it was before the, Limp Bizkits and the rap and the rock. And so I was a club DJ, and I wanted to do a rock and roll club. And so I said to Tammy, I'm like, dude, I want to do a rock and roll. Let's do a rock and roll club. He knew more people in the Hollywood rock scene than I did. And so we worked together on it, and it just got bigger and bigger. And I decided to turn all my addictive personality into business and just work as hard as I could to make the Cathouse the best rock club in the world. Now, of course, I was lucky because my friends were starting bands like Guns N' Roses.
I was going to say,
and Faster Pussycat and all that stuff. And then I got the job on Headbangers Ball, so everybody wanted to play the Cathouse then, too. So I had the best bands in the world play my cup.
And it was the most unique environment, too, because you could go there and Guns N' Roses would be there. Like, the biggest bands would be there if you were just like a normal person going in the club.
But I also said no cameras allowed, which is why you don't see a lot of pictures from the Cathouse. Bit me in the ass in the long run. I really wish there were pictures.
Why'd you say no cameras?
Because I want people to do whatever the hell they want to do. And this was before the internet.
No consequences, yeah.
Right. Yeah, exactly. Stephen Piercy is probably one of those people that's really happy we didn't allow cameras in the Cathouse. Right? The upstairs.
Yeah.
Stephen knows why.
Stephen knows why?
Yeah,
We'll
he
talk
went.
about it. And why does it close? Just because the scene?
The scene died. I just didn't want to do it anymore.
And didn't you close it because you didn't want it to like go out like bad? Like
Yeah.
you just closed it on your own terms?
Yeah, closed it. Last night was Motorhead. And I brought it back for the 20th anniversary.
Yeah,
and then I recently bought it back for the 30th anniversary, which
those
was
shows
just
were all really successful.
Oh my
Twisted
God.
Sister, right? At the 30th?
Yeah, nobody knew. Not one person knew. One band.
I was freaking
the
out.
only band that anybody knew is they had a feeling Faster Pussycat would play because
Well,
I'm going to have them do
yeah.
everything I do.
Because I
And
remember
people had
when
no
Twisted
idea.
Came, and
Like
I was in my bed and everyone was on Twitter freaking out. I was like, fucking kidding me. It was right after the Monsters Rock
Because the
cruise,
reason
so
the
everyone
reason
was
being
there.
is after being a part of the Monsters of Rock cruise and it was just such a bad experience.
The Monsters Rock cruise?
It was horrible. It was so they screwed me every way over. They you know
'Cause I was
the
gonna
owner
drag my dad on
the
it.
owner of the Monsters of Rock cruise started telling me how they were responsible for my brand, that I wouldn't be anywhere without the Monsters of Rock cruise. They said because I had Monster Energy drink sponsoring the 30th anniversary, and by the way, I also had them sponsoring the 20th anniversary, because I had Monster Energy sponsoring the Cathouse. That meant that I was ripping off the Monsters of Rock cruise.
No, Monsters Rock and
Monster Energy's been around no, Monster Energy has no affiliation with
Yeah, I
Monsters of
know.
Rock, you know? Nope, they don't have any sponsors. So because of all that, they were just very, very insulting. I saved all of the texts that Larry sent to me.
Yeah.
It was very, very insulting. And the truth of the matter is that when I went on those cruises, I had a good time.
You're
I
fine.
really had a good time. And the Cathouse, everybody looked forward to it. So we had a big falling out. I show up at the Cathouse. I'm going to have Faster Pussycat and Choir Boys play. There was no sound equipment. There was nothing, not even a microphone in a tiny room. So he screwed me.
Yeah.
And then they wouldn't put the T-shirts for sale. And it was just a lot of bad things that he did. And I'm like, you know, I'm ripping off your brand. Let me tell you something. The Monsters of Rock cruise, there's a lot of people outside of your genre. They have no idea who you are, and they're not going to talk about you because you just do the same things over and over again. Their worst fear is me putting together a cruise, you know? No, it'd be Cathouse.
Do it. Would you, if you could?
If I could, but it wouldn't be what everybody thinks. It would be a lot of the bands like the LA Guns, Faster Pussycats, but it also might put a band like the Super Suckers on,
Yeah.
and it would put a couple comedians on, and it would put a movie night, and it wouldn't have all like it wouldn't have 50 bands. It would have like 20, 30 good bands and bands that you would want to get turned on to, and it would have events. It's just cheesy, and I can go to those shows, and 60% of the people can like me, and the other people that are did I just spit on you or something?
You did.
I'm sorry.
It's okay, I don't care.
And then you need a shot. And then the other people that are 55 years old that don't like Riki Rachtman, I'm like, okay. Or I can go to the Chicago Open Air Festival where there's 90,000 people and there's kids that are 20 that want to take, and they're so nice. I'm like, you know what?
Yeah.
So I'm going to stay with this, with a bunch of people that just don't want to let go and are mad at me because
People hate on you for Headbangers Ball too.
Oh, yeah. Well, I understand why.
Yeah, I know.
They hate on me for a couple reasons. One, I had the best job in the world.
Absolutely.
2, I said every band was my friend. 3, I said every band was my favorite. And the reason was because I played a lot of bands that sucked. So when I said a band that I really liked, like Suicidal Tendencies, I was, this is my favorite band, this is my favorite. Because they were my favorite, but I know why people would put me down for that, and I understand it. But I've never met anybody that talked shit about me that sat down with me for a couple minutes that didn't feel differently.
Yeah.
And if you do hate me, I don't care, but at least you know who I am.
Exactly.
You know,
To know who you
I'd
are,
rather
to hate you
people
is better
have
than to not know you at all.
have an opinion because I am a character. I am somebody that if people want to throw cupcakes on me on the show, go right ahead. It's okay.
Yeah.
You know, it's not about, I don't give a rat's ass who your producer is or the inspiration of this song, but let's go have fun. So. And I've always been very opinionated, and I've always done things my own way, and a lot of people don't like that because I didn't stay in that 80s, 90s mode.
Yeah,
and
that's
Cathouse
true.
never
You
did
did move
either.
on from that.
Cathouse didn't either, you know? Cathouse was always trying to do something a little bit different. You know, people don't realize that on Headbangers Ball I had Pennywise, I had Marilyn Manson, I had the Ramones, I had Bad Religion. I mean, I had all these bands that I thought were great bands.
No, with Headbangers Ball, was that in your control, or did they tell you, like, hey, you have to have this person on?
I never picked a guest,
Okay.
and I never picked a song. On my birthday, I gave them a list of songs, and the only song they put on was Motorhead. So that sucked.
Yeah, I feel like it would be annoying to have to work with something that you don't have control over, especially in music and stuff.
I mean, it was very frustrating,
Yeah.
especially because the metal community wasn't being addressed, you know, and I wanted to play more metal. I wanted to play
Considering
more
it's
metal.
Headbangers Ball
Yeah.
and the metal community wasn't
But
addressed.
whatever.
Now tell me about your affiliation with Rock of Love and Daisy of Love, because that's where I first found you. And I was like, who is this? And my dad's like, you know what he did, right? I was like, no, what?
They
And then,
asked me to do the Rock of Love reunion, what I host, because I host a lot of things.
Yeah.
I've interviewed everybody from Tom Cruise. I didn't interview Samantha Fox, but I did
Okay.
just meet her, and she's awesome. So they asked me to host the Rock of Love, and when I hosted that show, the reunion, I made it like a Jerry Springer show. I said, this is my time, and I'm going to be honest, I think I was great at, I won't say I was great at Headbangers Ball, because I wasn't, but I'll say when I did those reunions, I was great at those, because I made it a show, and it was really, really fun. And my job is not to be the star. My job is to make everybody else look crazy
now was
and
that
have
up
fun.
to you? Like they were like host it and you just did your own thing?
They put me in a direction, but they let me be me.
Okay.
So Rock of Love reunion, I did a good job on that thing.
Yeah.
So then they brought me on to do Charm School. Hated it.
Really?
Loved Sharon Osbourne, loved Daniela, loved everything I did, but they didn't let me be me. So after Charm School, I said, I'm not going to do it anymore. I'll do the Rock of Love reunions, I'll do the Charm School reunions, but I'm not going to do any more of these shows. I mean, I was the one when Sharon got in that fight with Megan, I was there. When Daisy got in the fight with Heather, I was in the middle. I was in the middle of all those famous reality feud fights. So when it came to Daisy of Love, I said, I don't want to do it. And they said, will you come in here and talk to us, and we'll tell you about what the show is. And I said, I don't want to do it anymore. And they told me about Daisy of Love and told me what my role was. And I was like, and they're like, we really want you to be you. Be Riki on the show. I was like, okay. So I did it, and I couldn't have been more pleased with the result.
Yeah.
I love doing
You weren't just
Daisy.
the host. You were like the guy.
And the thing is, I did care about Daisy.
Yeah.
You know, and I
I always
really,
wondered that watching. I was like, did they really know each other before it? Like,
briefly,
yeah.
but not
Okay.
at a Rock of Love. But the truth is, we became very, very close friends. I mean, really good friends.
Okay.
And when I was talking about caring about her and caring about the guys that she was with, that wasn't
It was
fake.
genuine.
That was genuine. I really do care about Daisy. And I really liked doing that show. I had a good time. And so when that show was done, it was like all of a sudden there's all these kids. There's all these kids that know me from Daisy of Love.
Yeah.
And for a while
That's
it was
how my friends know you.
for a while it was really big. Then that died. Nobody ever says Daisy of Love anymore,
Except for me.
except you.
Except for me. But yeah, because that's how a lot of my friends knew who you were. They're like, oh, do you know who this guy is? I was like, yes.
So that show, I really enjoyed doing Daisy of Love.
And how real was that? Like the guys, because you were like, that one guy left and then he came back and you were like, no, Daisy, don't go for it. And then she chose him, London or whatever.
I was pissed.
Really? Like it happened?
Truly pissed.
Oh my God.
Truly angry that she picked him. I
liked
really
him.
didn't like it.
I
That she,
liked him.
why? Oh God. But and there were guys on the show that I didn't like, but the truth is, like later, like we hung out a couple times in Vegas with me and some of the other guys on the show, and occasionally I'll run into one of them or something like that.
Because London was in like a band or like.
I guess. But he ended up being nice too.
Oh, okay.
You know, I mean, the truth is, they were all kind of nice afterwards, you know? And it was a fun show. It was really good.
It looked fun. So what are you up to now? What are you doing?
For 15 years, I've been working in NASCAR.
Okay, doing what?
I do a NASCAR radio show where I play music and talk about NASCAR. It's called Racing Rocks. It's on the
metal?
radio.
Yep.
No.
Oh.
There's two versions. There's a classic rock version. There's a modern rock version.
Okay.
The modern rock will play the Stone Sours and the Volbeats
yes.
and the Linkin Parks and stuff like that. The classic will play the Claptons and the stuff like that. I just talk. I don't pick the music.
Okay.
All I do is talk about what goes on between the music and talk about
okay.
racing, whether it's NASCAR or Supercross. And I work for a couple race tracks, and I still sell Cathouse T-shirts worldwide. Yeah.
I see it all the time.
Yeah, we do really good. I say we, it's me.
Yeah.
It's so funny. I was talking to Chris Kale, and he does T-shirts too. Chris does what I do with T-shirts, and we were talking about our T-shirt companies, and I said, Chris, I go, when somebody buys Cathouse shirts, and we sell a lot, I go, I'm up there putting them in the envelopes, stamping them, and taking them to the post office. And Chris goes, so do I. I'm like, I wonder how many people in Five Finger Death Punch know that when they buy one of Kale's shirts, he's
That's crazy.
doing that all
Yeah.
on himself
Yeah.
usually. So, I mean, he probably sells, I don't know, maybe he sells more than I do, so he probably maybe has staff.
Yeah.
but I don't have Saxon. You got to pay people.
It's just you.
Yeah.
And you do Riki's Ride now too. When did you start doing that?
I've always loved riding motorcycles. Always. I've ridden with Gilby for a long time, and then when Tammy got a motorcycle.
Yeah.
Then all of a sudden, me and Tammy kind of lost touch for a couple years. And Tammy is I love Tammy.
Yeah.
Everybody knows that Riki and Tammy are like the best friends. And,
I know, you're
and
so
we
sweet.
drive each other crazy, but I care about that guy. I care about that guy more than any other guy on the planet, really.
Yeah.
So when he got a motorcycle, it reestablished the friendship, and we would go on rides to Canada, to Mexico. And when I would ride with Tammy, it was the best times I'd ever had, and it rekindled the friendship. It made the bond much stronger, and I learned a lot from him. And we would just go ride and just me and him would have the best time, camping or just doing shit. He's such a great
I feel
guy.
like that's a good person to do that with the way
He's
he
the
is.
best. And people don't really know him when he's riding. I mean, he is the same person in everything. He really is. And now he's getting really healthy.
How is he doing?
He's doing great.
Good.
He
Okay.
calls me up and he's like, dude, do you have diabetes?
Nervous.
He's like, listen, so was I. I was really scared. My brother had died 2 weeks before I heard about Tammy.
No way.
And it was tough.
Yeah.
And I lose people that I know, and it's tough. I don't cry. I don't have that thing. I think if Tammy died, and I don't want to say that, I think that'd be really hard. That'd be really hard for me. So when he got sick, Tawny Katane put her ass in my face, and when
Sue me, Riki.
I thought I had to pay you. So when he got sick, I was very concerned because he does not take care of himself at all. So I talked to him. I talked to his girlfriend. I was very much kept up to date with what everything was going. And it was like, I got a lot of calls saying, dude, I'm sorry, Jamie, like calling me, telling me stuff.
I'm sorry, Jamie.
So he calls me up. He's like, dude, do you have diabetes? I'm like, no. He's like, man, they're telling me to eat egg whites and eat the same stuff that you eat. I'm like, Tammy, I try to eat healthy.
I know.
I try to eat healthy, So last time I talked to him, he hadn't smoked in 3 weeks, which I would believe that unicorns would land on my yard before I believe Tammy stopped. I mean, if I had one wish, it'd be that Tammy'd stop smoking, but I'd never believe it would happen. He hasn't smoked in 3 weeks. He's taking better care of himself.
Good.
I think the band's great. I do have a lot of friends that are in bands, but I don't go see them play a lot. I'll go see Faster Pussycat play, and I'll go hang out there because I like Faster Pussycat. I love the band. I mean, some people say it's a new band. This new band's been together over a decade.
I know, they don't realize.
But I
that it's
like
actually
everybody in that band. Ace is
They're great.
definitely one of my best
I agree
friends,
with him.
and I think that everybody in the band is really, really good. And everybody's like, Danny is totally different from Chad, is totally different from Christian, they're all characters and they're all different.
Because I saw them at M3. I was at M3 when they did the show, and Cher came up, and Ted Poley came up, and it was so nice, and everyone was sending so much love to Tammy. So, and they were all great.
Yeah, I don't know how I feel about Ted Poley doing Bathroom Wall.
Don't.
No offense to Ted, but
And the guy from Dangerous Toys sang. Jake
That would've been
Mason,
cool.
McMaster, he sang.
that would have been cool.
Yeah. Very cool.
I mean, Tammy's the best,
He is.
and there's a lot of the bands of that era that I will listen to. Faster Pussycat. I will listen to Junkyard. I'll listen to LA Guns. I'll listen to Rat, Cinderella.
Yeah.
But a lot of those bands I won't listen to.
And when do you embark on the next Riki's Ride?
So me and Tammy were riding forever.
Yes.
Then sometimes he had to go do stuff where he couldn't go on. So I started riding by myself. This time I'm going to ride through every single state in America except Alaska and Hawaii. Yeah, thank you. The continental USA. 48 states. I leave June 1st. People can go on social media, on my Twitter, Instagram, Facebook. Tell me where to go, where to stop, gas stations, place to eat, shows, stay at their house, cook me a meal. And I'm raising money for cystic fibrosis. And if you go to any of these websites or anything, and you can find me there and follow me on the ride. I'm going to some shows. I'm just going to have a blast.
Because I remember when you were on it last year, I was in school. I was still a senior in high school, and I would watch your
Oh
hair.
my God.
Yeah.
Wait, stop. I remember last year when I was a senior in high school. Ouch.
And and I would be in class.
And then just so you know, here's what happened.
Yeah.
And so I'm talking to Jade, and Jade's like, oh yeah, Jade's cute, she's cute. And then here comes her dad, and her dad is like, kind of like me, you know. Her dad looks like me, except he's a little tougher, and he's like my age, probably a little younger. And I'm like, oh, that's her boyfriend. I'm talking to him. Yeah, and your dad's like cool guy, and I'm talking to your dad for a second. He's like, yeah, I'm Jade's dad. And I'm like, my God, that just like puts in perspective how old I am, because your dad's a cool dude, you know, and he's like me, huh? But he's not. Your dad's probably younger than me.
We'll talk about it. I don't want to say how old he is on this interview because
okay,
he'll get mad at me. He'll get mad at me. But I would be in class and I'd have your Periscopes on and I would get in trouble because I'd be like, oh. So they'd be playing out loud in class under the table, and my teachers would be like, what are you doing? I was like, Ricky's riding a motorcycle and he's in Wyoming today.
There are people that only know me from my ride.
Really?
And like when people go up and say, I love Headbangers Ball, I'm flattered, and I like talking to people. When people come up to me and they talk about the ride, I mean, if you see me in line at a frozen yogurt place and you're going to say to Ricky, hey man, I liked you on your ride when you went to this, understand you're going to be there for a while because I'm going to talk about this, and I love talking about riding motorcycles. I love riding motorcycles, you know. I mean, I've ridden motorcycles forever, but I really like, the passion I have for motorcycles is just like bizarre. Like I love riding motorcycles by myself.
Yeah. And so, where can we follow you before I let you go?
RikisRide.com, RikisRid.com, or my name on Twitter, Instagram.